It wouldn't let me hit it.
Hey, Gator Nation. Welcome back to an all-new episode of the Respect Our Decision podcast. Guys, as always, I'm your boy Hirsch. With me, CJ the Man McCann.
What's up, guys?
And the hype man who's a little more well this week.
What's up, Gator Nation? How you guys doing out there?
Hype man's feeling better. He done kicked his cold, got well, ready to give some dynamite takes tonight. As always, guys, you're checking us out on YouTube. Go ahead and smash that subscribe button for us, man. And drop that like on the video, guys. We ask each and every week if we can hit 100 likes on the video. Helps us a tremendous amount if you would do that for us. Big shout out to y'all. We'll give you a big heart. You know how it goes. And in the comments below, guys, while you're thinking about it, name a player that is in the transfer portal currently that you would like to see the Gators make a run at. Whether it be somebody you've already heard they have interest in, or somebody we talk about on the show tonight, or just somebody that you've seen out there and you're like, man, I wish the Gators would give that dude a call because he could really help us out. Drop that below in the comments. Look forward to reading who y'all have interest in. And as always, you can get us wherever you get your podcast from, guys. If you don't like sitting here watching YouTube, you just out there riding around on the streets, you're doing a little Christmas shopping, man, trying to get that Christmas shopping done, you can put us on and listen to us there. We appreciate it any way we can get the listens, guys. And as always, if you'd like to check out Florida Victorious, go to Florida Victorious, use our code DECISION, save 20% off your first month with Florida Victorious, and support Gator athletes as always. All right, guys, we're going to get right into it, man. As we were talking, the portal season is booming. We got players declaring, I mean, it's like every 5 minutes, FaZe Hossett is dropping an edit on the timeline. Fake haze, real haze. Be wary out there, folks. It's fake account season. I see a lot of y'all falling for the fake accounts out there. I can only tell y'all to make sure you check those profiles. Don't be caught. Don't be victimized. It's a scam. They're gonna get you. So we're gonna talk about who's in the portal, who's leaving us, who's staying. It was announced earlier, obviously, after the playoffs were announced, that the Florida Gators will be in the Gasparilla Bowl playing against Tulane, who may or may not have a quarterback left to field by the time we take the field on December 20th. A lot of guys already come out, said they're playing. Cam Jackson said he's going to run it one more time. Elijah Badger is going to be there. Now, a lot of this is because these guys have to play in this game to meet their NIL commitments, get their last NIL checks. That's why you see Cam Ward is going to play in the Pop-Tart Bowl and all that good stuff. Yeah, I took a little shot there. We don't know how long they'll play. I mean, it could. I don't know what the stipulation in that is. They may play a series. They may play a quarter. They may play the whole game. I mean, you just don't know. Some of these kids might be wanting to put that one last, good tape out there. I hope we go into this game, man. We get us our 8th win of the season, and look good doing it, guys. CJ, any thoughts on this bowl game? I mean, it's we've talked about it a little bit. It's
the Magilla Gorilla Bowl. Good for the fans that live in the area. They get to go to a game again. It's in Tampa. It's easy enough for a lot of people. Everybody was hoping that we didn't go play in Las Vegas again or Birmingham or somewhere like that. So good for the folks that are going to be able to go to one more game. Tulane is looking like they're going to be ravaged by the transfer portal before we get to play them. So I would expect Florida to take care of business here.
You better.
I mean, but I would, that would be cool. If you go 8-5, we're talking 8-win season. I think we're kind of expecting an 8-win season at the beginning of the year. That's kind of what our benchmark was. You get to 7-8 wins. We were pretty well cool. We didn't get there the way we thought we'd get there, but get there. So have fun. It's going to be the last game for a lot of guys. A lot of these guys are, never going to play football again. This is going to be it for them. No NFL. This is the last hurrah. So, guys, enjoy it. Kids have earned it. That's what the bowl games are. They're rewards for the end of the season, and I hope kids have fun.
Wes, you got any thoughts about this thrilling matchup?
Nah, I just want to see. I want to see DJ again. Of course, it's never sad to get to see
healthy DJ.
Yeah, a good healthy DJ. Um, get more reps. He's a true freshman, and reps cannot be understated. Even if you're playing against a Tulane school, it's good to get those reps. Even if you know Badger and DK might be out there, guys that you might not have next year, the reps still matter, and it's a good process and a good thing for him to, even if it's a lesser opponent, to work on some things, footwork, whatever it is he feels. At the end of the season, a lot of players reflect and say, okay, what can I get better at? So he has a couple weeks to get prepared and work on things and see if we can put that in a game that's not practice, but hopefully for us it's practice like. So I want to see him and some of the other young guys that uh, you know, might have to step up and play because we are losing some guys in the portal that we'll talk about here in the future that were depth pieces that got some playing time here at the end of the season. So those guys won't be available, so we'll be able to see some more new names. And depending on, like you said, if Cam Jackson plays a lot or if Caleb Banks, even though he's coming back next year, if he plays a lot, you still want to see guys maybe like Robertson and I'm forgetting another dude named D tackle.
Burrow.
Burrow. You want to see those guys probably play majority of this game and not have Banks out there, knowing that he's going to be a key piece for next year. So, yeah, I want to see some of those young guys that we're going to be able to, we're going to have to count on for next year as far as depth pieces.
Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway on this is watching some of these younger guys play, especially. Obviously, you're losing some guys through the portal that are already going to be gone from our team. So some guys are going to get some playing time, and this game doesn't count towards red shirt. So if a guy's already on a red shirt, he can still play in this game. So you could see KJ Daniels is one that comes to mind, and you want to get him out there, maybe show him how much he means as you try to convince him to stay. And as of right now, I mean, it looks like he is. He hasn't said he's going into the portal yet. So maybe you've convinced Daniels to stay and some of these other young guys. It's just a very good opportunity. Let Mizell run some fly routes, man, and just chunk it deep. Last game of the season. Don't hold nothing back, Dan Fouts. We've all seen the Water Boy. So let's just see some of the young guys out there and let them have fun and stay in Florida, throw it around a little bit. Don't get anybody, with no major injuries, knock on wood and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about guys coming back. First and foremost, it was already announced this week. We already talked about some guys that had made mention of this last week on the episode, but since then, Caleb Banks has announced that he will be coming back for next season, and that is huge. I mean, you can't understate that enough. I mean, that is a huge, huge retention by this staff to get Caleb Banks back, because if you lost both of your starting tackles, I mean, we've beat that horse to death at nauseum about defensive tackle recruiting with this staff. We've got a very important visitor on campus. We're going to talk about that here in a second when we get off of the comings and goings of the team. So Caleb Banks announces he's back. I've got it on really good authority that it looks like Tyreek Sapp will also announce that he's coming back. So that is another huge retention as far as getting the defensive line back together. If we can get 4 of the 5 starters on the offensive line coming back together, you're really talking about a solid nucleus. Now, time to talk about the business portion of this that isn't so pretty. There's a lot of rumors about a handful of guys on the defense that are going to be leaving, and one came out yesterday and caused quite a stir, and of course that would be Jack Pyburn. Jack Pyburn out of Jacksonville. Everyone that's a Gator fan pretty much loves Jack. They think he's a program guy, Gator through and through. And then yesterday he announced he was transferring, and a lot of people were like, how does this happen? How does Jack Pyburn, he's a Gator, he loves being a Gator, how does he leave? And if you're part of our Facebook chat, and shout out to our Facebook group and our Facebook chat, guys, you know who you are out there. We talk about this daily. We had already kind of talked about that this was a really good possibility because the rumor had been out there about Jack possibly leaving. It's tough, man, because then later in the day, I believe it was 247 might have posted it. I believe it was them that posted or maybe it was on 3. And I'm sorry, I don't remember because I'm not on either one of them. But it made the Twitter rounds and was on various Dave's Discord and places like that. People were sharing it of his list of demands that he had asked, that they had obtained, that he was asking for certain amount, like third down snaps, and he wanted basically an amount of money that rounded up that equaled out to over $500,000 a season. I also had it on very good authority that A&M had at one point offered him somewhere around $500,000, and that he was very much looking for basically guaranteed third down reps. Now, I don't know any coach, first and foremost, that is going to guarantee any form of reps. I mean, what if you come into fall ball or, spring camp, and then you come into fall camp and you're just not getting it done and somebody's outplaying you? I mean, you can't sit there and say, I'm not playing my best guy because I've got a guarantee on the table to Jack Pyburn that he's getting those reps. Now, I love Jack. I love what he brought to the table for the Gators. He was very good in the run game, but he wasn't very great in the pass game. I mean, he had like 1 sack on the season, but yes, he had 60 tackles, and he brought an attitude to the team, and I understand that. But this is a situation now that is coming with this NIL stuff, that sometimes when a demand reaches a certain level, you have to put a line in the sand and go, no, I can't accommodate that as a coach, as the leader of a program, because if I do it for you, then I got 20 other guys beating my door down saying, why am I not getting this? Well, now I want this amount of, I want to be on third downs, and I want $400,000, $500,000 because I play just as hard as he does. You understand where I'm going with this. So, guys, I'm going to go around, and I just want to get everybody's opinion on this, because I know a lot of people have various opinions, and that's fine. It's absolutely okay. I understand it. It's one of those that NIL has really created that kind of discourse amongst people where you're just like, I really hate what it's doing to our sport, but at the same time, do the kids deserve their pound of flesh and their money? Yeah, of course. I agree with that 100%. But this is what we've gotten to with no kind of regulations whatsoever out there to streamline this thing. Wes, starting with you, man, what was your first thoughts on this and your opinions as more information's come out?
First, I'll preface this by saying we don't know if those demands are real. So we'll say that as far as that list that came out with the 4 or 5 demands that we saw, that everybody's seen, that has been circulated through Gator Nation, we don't know if that's legit. So I preface what I'm about to say I don't know if that's legit. But if it is legit, monetary, as far as the monetary expenses, as far as NIL, him wanting as far as the money is concerned, I won't speak on that. If you feel like I'm not going to tell anybody. If you feel like you're worth $45,000 a month, hey, shout out to you. If Texas A&M is willing to pay you that, then you do what's best for you as far as the monetary aspects of it. I can't tell anybody what they're worth if I'm not their boss. I can assume that, hey, you might be not worth this. I don't think that money, but if somebody's willing to pay you $45,000 a month, then you're worth $45,000 a month. But for the other aspects, the stuff that you touched on earlier, Hurst, when you first started talking about as far as that list, the third downs and the amount of snaps and all this stuff, to echo and to back you up on what you just said, that's total bullshit. You cannot demand, I want to be on the field for this amount of third downs. And every game, every situation is different. For one, and you don't know, maybe McCray hits this TJ Watt, Miles Garrett type thing, and then are we supposed to pay you over McCray if he's out there producing more than you in this amount of steps? To me, you cannot. That to me, practice. And shout out to if this is real, shout out to Billy Napier and the staff or whoever make the decision to say, nah, that's one thing we cannot do. As far as we creating a culture we've hyped on and harped on and back Billy up on as far as the culture that he's
Biggie.
had. The culture is one that we believe the players play hard, they give 110%, and Pyburn is one of those guys that we felt we didn't see any, like he took a play off, he was dedicated, gave 110 to 120%. He played hard. He's a glue guy, a core guy, a culture guy, somebody that you love. So nothing wrong with that part of his game, but to demand any player to demand you are one of the most elite guys in all of sports. Demand. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
your mic messed up a little bit, but it's all right. Keep
Yeah.
going.
But to demand something like that is ludicrous. You cannot, in a culture of competition, and if another guy is playing harder than you, what do you think the culture is going to be in that locker room? Like, why? Players know you can't fool players. That's one thing in the locker room. You can't fool players. They know who should be playing. They know who should be getting reps. And if you create a culture where, because like Hirsch said, you in this contract where I got to play McCray, I'm sorry. I got to play him more than you, or Tyreek Sapp, I'm sorry, or Cameron James, or Jaden Robinson, or Pup Howard, or whoever, not Caleb Banks, whoever it is, Robinson, Barrow, whoever it is on the defense, I have to play this guy more because he makes more money. Hell no, that's not the culture you want to create. And players are not going to play hard. The culture that we saw at the end of this year are players playing hard because they put the best players on the field and say, hey, you playing, you're hot right now. Continue to play. You're going to get these reps. You can't do that shit. And I'm sorry to use profanity, but that's a bunch of bullshit. Coaches talk about how you control what you control. You control whether you should be on the field more. You make plays on the field, the coaches are going to play you on the field. You don't need a contract to say, hey, coach, I need to be on the third. I need to be on the field. This is my what I do in practice and what I do on Saturdays will determine how much you're going to put me in key situations in as far as the game is concerned. To me, that's a load of crap. That's a bunch of BS, and I hope it's false because if that's the type, if that's real and that's what he put, then he's not who we thought he was. He's not who he thought he was because we thought he was a worker, a lunch pail guy. That I'm gonna pack up my lunch, I'm gonna get my hard hat, put my hard hat on, and I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna show you that I should be playing more than XYZ guy. That's the type of guy I'm gonna force you to play me. That's the type of guys you want as a coach, to force the coach to play you. Where I can't take him off the field. God damn, I want to give such and such a rest, but this mother effer is making plays. And I'm sorry to feel that way, but I can't speak on the money. I don't want to tell the money part is to me whatever it is. But as far as the other bullcrap that was in that list that we saw, you can't have that type of mess as a player. That should be your mentality. My mentality, Hurst mentality, TJ mentality should be as if we were players on the floor game. Coach, I'm gonna make you not play me. I'm gonna make not play me. I'm gonna make you play me. You're gonna have no choice but to put me in the game. You're gonna be like, damn, I can't take his ass out. And that should be the mentality of the players, and that's the type of players I want playing for the University of Florida.
That's football. That's business. That's anything. I mean, if you're in a job and you're up for a promotion, or you want promotion, or you want a raise, you got to show you're worth that money, man. You got to, and I'm not saying Jack hasn't shown he's worth more money, but I think we all know how football works as far as that goes. CJ, your opinions?
Yeah, no, I'd heard the rumblings like most of the end of last week and into this week, and I kept hearing Pyburn's name come up, and I didn't really believe it. This is a kid who's from Jacksonville, grew up a Gator fan. His family are Gators. This is his dream, to put on that uniform. This was an offer that he waited for forever. Was originally committed to Auburn, got the offer from Florida, and could not wait to come to Florida. This is what he wanted. Um, so yeah, it was a little bit of a shock, but at the end of the day, Jack's gonna do what's best for Jack. If he feels like and like Wes said, I don't know. I wasn't sitting across the table from the guy. I didn't hear him make these demands, so they could be completely false. But it's obviously something. It has to be. There has to be some merit in it because there's no way that a guy that loves Florida as much as Pyburn says he loves Florida. He's from the area. He's ingrained in his DNA. There's got to be something else there to make you want to leave. Um, and especially the guy who had really carved himself out a role on the team. It wasn't like he wasn't playing. It wasn't like he wasn't around. He had got significant reps, especially towards the end of the year. The start of the year, they had him in, a good bit. Billy Napier thought a lot of him, thought a lot of his game, to a point where he took Justice Boone's spot, who was a guy that we had come into the season expecting a lot from. You just felt like this is a program guy. This is a guy that loves being here. Um, and something obviously has changed. Like I said, if Jack has the offer on the table somewhere else, and they can pay him the money, and that's what he wants, and he thinks he's worth that much, then he should go. At the end of the day, good luck to you. Does it stink? Yeah, it stinks. You wish you had that guy in the locker room, but I think that this is just something we're going to have to get used to as fans. Um, and like I said, I've always taken this piece of advice with me. A coach and a player is never going to love your team the way you love your team, no matter what. So once you figure that out, it makes this a little bit easier. We're going to have to look at this and treat this and think of this just like we do NFL players when they leave and they take different jobs and kind of just come to grips with that. It is what it is. I mean, you move on, you get somebody else. We've got other guys in the room. There are guys jumping in that portal every day. You added two guys from high school. You added Woods and you added Wiggins. Um, and you added McLeod, who can all play that role. So, you know, next man up. Good luck to Jack Pyburn. Catch your ass down the road. Um, you know, I mean, what do you do? One can't grieve forever.
This is the part of this whole deal that sucks. I mean, and I think we all know that. I don't think anybody disputes that it kind of sucks that at any given time, if you have a favorite NFL team, you got your guy when he signs a contract, at least you have him he's under your team's control. Like they have that. If they cut him, that's on, the guy probably deserved it or the money wasn't functioning right. This is so out of control, though. It's just like you can't even really get to love a certain player on a team out of fear. If he has a good season, he might leave us. Now, if your team is Florida or any of these better teams, obviously the Oregons of the world, the Georgias of the world, and it's a super great player. I mean, Florida's going to pay DJ Lagway whatever it takes to keep DJ Lagway. That goes without saying. I don't think you have to worry about Jaden Baugh hitting the transfer portal because Florida's they know what they have in Jaden Baugh. They're going to do what they have to do to keep Jaden Baugh. Miles Graham, guys like that. But then you get on down the road here and you're getting to, and the other players rumored that could be interested in transferring, the Pyburns, the Cam James, the TJ Cersei's. And you're having to make business decisions because whether people want to hear it or not, we aren't Texas. We aren't Oregon right now. We're up there. We've got a lot of money. I'm not saying that we don't. But we don't know exactly when the revenue sharing is going to come into place because they can't get the language right and the two sides can't agree. So it's not a sure thing right now. So you have to make business decisions. Well, we'd like to go get more players to fill more prominent needs, but we also need to keep experienced rotational players. But rotational players don't want to be rotational players. They want to go start somewhere. So I don't envy any of these guys having to sit down at a table and going, all right, guys, who do we, I feel like you have to break it out into a list. These are 20 guys that we absolutely do not lose no matter what happens. These guys are Gators. We give them whatever they ask for within, obviously, reason. The next 20, 30 guys, these are guys that we would really like to keep no matter what. But we understand, if they ask for too much, we may have to make some tough decisions. And then there's the bottom of the list where these are guys, look, if these guys decide to leave, we wish them well in their future endeavors, and we call it a day. So this is where we're at. I mean, in the state of college football, in the landscape of college football, it's not fun. It's not fun to be a fan right now to me for several reasons. Now, I still love the game on the field. It is what it is. I mean, I loved watching the playoff special and debating the teams that should be in the playoffs. I thought that was awesome. Some people don't agree. Some people are like, I wish we could go back to the BCS. And it's that's a friendly debate. It is what it is. The NIL thing is just crazy right now. They've got to figure out ways to regulate this thing, to put some power back to the teams. And I'm not saying where the kids can't get what they're rightfully owed. I absolutely believe that. But I also don't believe that you should be able to be that quarterback that's on your fourth school in 4 years just because it ain't working out for you. You know what? I mean, in life, if it's a job, there are consequences to doing stuff like that. You go job hopping like that, the next employer, the number 5, is going to look at your resume and go, four different jobs in 4 years. Could you explain that? Yeah, it just wasn't working out for me. A guy passed me up, so I figured I'd go try it somewhere else. And they're going to be like, well, no, you know what? That's not going to be a fit for us. We need a little more commitment than that. It's tough, man. It's tough. And I get the argument that if coaches leave, then players should be able to leave. I understand that too. But most coaches don't job hop every single season. So let's talk about some guys that we're looking at possibly to bring in to make this roster better next year. Obviously, I think you'll still see a couple of guys for the Gators hit the portal in the next week or so. They're still sitting down with Napier, and credit to Napier and company. They're still trying to work it out for these kids because they want to keep these kids. The guys that, for the most part, I don't think that they already decided they didn't want to keep around have already hit the portal. So now we're on to the guys that are just kind of negotiating, trying to stay. So we'll see how it shakes out. And then we'll talk about it next week and see where we're at. But now let's talk about some targets, if you will. And one's on campus right now, and we mentioned that earlier. And this is a big target, literally and figuratively, and a target that we've actually seen before. And that would be Mr. Keyshawn Silver. Last time we saw Keyshawn Silver in Gainesville, he was a linebacker out of North Carolina. Now he's a big old defensive tackle that just got done playing for Kentucky. Keyshawn now is 6'4", weighs 336, was a really good, productive tackle for Kentucky last year. He hit the portal. Immediately, most Gator fans were like, that's one we want right there. We got to be after that guy. And to the coaching staff's credit, this is the very first guy that hit campus. He got here yesterday. He was supposed to leave today. He extended his visit till tomorrow. As of now, it looks like if he does leave campus, he's going to USC next, and then to Michigan, and Miami's interested as well. People in Gator Nation that we talk to right now feel very good about how things look with Mr. Silver. But as we know, we've heard this before. CJ, just real quick, what are your thoughts on Keyshawn Silver?
No, he's definitely a guy that I liked from the beginning. We all were watching the Kentucky game, and I saw Keyshawn Silver, and I looked, and I sent in our group chat, I said, man, I wish we could have a defensive tackle like number 9. And here we are. Now he can be yours for the low payment of whatever he's asking for. No, I think we need that help alongside Banks next year. Not to say the guys that we have aren't, going to be good players, but Robinson and Barreau and Shivers need to have another season of some seasoning, some growing. Those guys need a little more work before I think they're ready to go. We did see them flash a little bit. You saw Robinson flash some at the end, and that's what we're just asking for another season development. They're going to rotate in. We watched the defensive line rotate all over the place this year. Those guys are definitely going to get some burn anyway. But you need two experienced defensive tackles to compete in this league. Um, and this would be a guy who, of course, has experience competing in this league. You put him alongside Kalen Banks, and you're not missing a beat next year on that defensive front, and that'll help us out a ton when it comes to playing teams in this conference, especially the ones that are really really aggressive on the ground, like Georgia's of the world and Texas's and people like that. So this is one that Florida needs to be aggressive on. They need to get him in, as soon as they can. Try to close out the deal here and get him in the fold because he would definitely take us to a different level next year if we did get him.
Absolutely. Wes, defensive tackles?
PTSD. So, like you mentioned, until he signs and I see Hayes Fawcett Hayes, however you called him earlier, say that he's
Pete
committed to,
Nakos.
yeah, to Florida, I won't believe it. But to CJ's point, to your point earlier, yeah, you want that guy to pair up with Caleb Banks and let the two young guys come in and be rotational pieces. You have a guy that's played in the SEC, knows what it's like going up against. He has familiarity with some of the guys that he'll probably be going up against again next year. I don't know. We played some common opponents with Kentucky this year, the Georgias and teams like
Ole
that.
Miss.
And Ole Miss and teams like that. So he'll have some familiarity going up against those teams again. Maybe a different scheme so much, but D tackles really don't have too much to worry about. You might have a different technique or a different gap that you have to do, or maybe you're the guy that tied up to taking on double teams for the linebackers to flow. But other than that, the talented guy, a guy that can come in and be right there with Caleb Banks and like CJ's point, Burrow and Robinson, give those guys time to develop, and then they're going to year 3 as your starters, and hopefully you have guys coming in as far as backing those guys up as far as guys that were recruited. So yeah, he'll be a big help and a big need as far as trenches. SEC is all about the trenches. We know that. We've lived it entire lives when we become fans of the SEC, and we know how that is as far as fans and watching a lot of SEC football. So it starts there, and that kid will be a great filler for what we need as far as one of the positions of need. And if this this staff can solidify his commitment and get him committed, it would be a wonderful get.
Yeah, and you've got a really good selling point right now with Coach Chapman as far as look what he's done for Banks and for Cam Jackson this season, as far as getting them developed in the growth that they've shown over the last calendar year, both in a position to make probably a lot more money going forward than they were a year ago before he arrived. And once again, Silver's not going to be cheap. I mean, as far as defensive tackles go in the portal, he's probably going to be the top dollar guy.
One question to you, Hirsch, before you continue: was Banks cheap? Do we have money? Did we pay Banks? Did Banks come back free?
He did not come back for free.
Oh, okay, I thought he just came back just because he loved the university. We didn't pay him
No,
anything.
he actually came back for money. It's amazing.
Oh,
No,
okay.
and sarcasm font on, but yeah, this is also though the penalty you have to pay for not recruiting defensive tackle very solidly, over the last few years. So call it bad recruiting tax. You didn't get you enough defensive tackles, so now you got to go pay extra for one to get one in the portal. But hey, at the end of the day, that's what you should be using the portal for. You've got 3 or 4 positions you need to supplement. If you're doing your roster right in 2024, you've recruited solidly, you've got your main pieces through recruiting, and then you supplement five or so guys in through the portal, and you should be right as rain. Now, we got a few more positions than that this cycle. And we're going to, we'll cover a few more of them. Another guy that's going to be visiting next weekend, before we get into the receiver board, another guy that's going to be visiting coming this weekend, I should say, Friday, is Zachariah Poyer, who's a safety from Jacksonville State. He's 6'2", he's 190, he's from the state of Florida. And there's been a lot of debate about this, and this is why I came right to him next. People see the school and they're like, Jacksonville State, what are we doing, man? We're the SEC, we're Florida Gators. Why are we recruiting a cat from Jacksonville State? Well, his 3 visits are us, LSU, and Auburn. That's number 1. I guess all 3 schools. The point of that is sometimes you have to watch the film. Yeah, it's just like NFL guys that come from smaller schools. And this was originally the whole deal with the portal. These guys that were performing at smaller schools that may have developed a little later are been overlooked by recruiting services and what have you not. They get identified, they show up on the field, they play to an elite level, and now they're moving up in competition because they've shown they can. If you watch this young man's film, it jumps off the page. Like, he is an elite looking young safety. And look, I think we all would agree we could use an elite safety that, now granted, we just got 2 studs in recruiting, but you don't want to use those guys this year. We've been there. We've played those. We saw Castell playing last year as a freshman, and I don't know if he benefited from it. And if you look at his play this year, or maybe that's just who he was the entire time. Maybe we overvalued Castell. Maybe he just regressed. I mean, these things happen. But this young man looks fantastic. CJ, I know you had some points, and I know you've looked at the young man's film. That's why I wanted to go to you, because I know you're real passionate about this, getting caught up in the X stars of recruiting when it comes to the transfer portal.
Yeah, no, I the first thing I do anytime we get a name that comes out is go watch some of the film. Let's see the guy play. Understand that this is always, to me, what's been that I look for in the transfer portal, because we've watched college football for years and years and years, and we've all seen guys at smaller schools that go on to play in the big leagues in the NFL, and they were great players, and we say, oh my God, how did that guy get missed by the Georgias and the Alabamas and the Floridas and the Auburns of the world? Now we have an opportunity with the transfer portal to get some of these guys, to get them out of these smaller Group of 5 teams. And Poirier seems like he's one of the guys. So you look at a guy who plays well. He's got a bunch of tackles, bunch of pass breakups. He's got 3 interceptions. I mean, if you give me a safety with 3 interceptions on the season in Florida, I'll take that. That's a great job by a safety. If you're getting 3 interceptions on a season, that's really good. The guy looks really solid in the tackle game. He looks really good in space. Looks good in coverage. We see guys all the time that the Jacksonville State is playing. They have athletes, they have receivers. So I don't ever have a problem with taking guys from Group of 5s. If it makes sense. And this is one of the guys that makes sense. These guys are given an opportunity to move up. I mean, we can list names left and right, but I mean, if let's say Ashton Genty hit the portal, is anybody going to say, "Oh God, the Boise State kid"? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't. Or even if we got like more granular about it, I think about like Antonio Brown played at Western Michigan. Imagine if that kid hit the portal. If they had a portal then. Antonio Brown, are you going to tell him, "Oh no, that kid played at Western Michigan. He's
Khalil
no good."
Mack.
Khalil Mack played at Buffalo. Are you going to tell me that Khalil Mack wouldn't have killed it at any big league school because he played at Buffalo? It
Josh
doesn't make
Allen.
sense. It's case by case. Like I said, we
Yeah.
could sit here and name all day. It's just that's the way college football is. Sometimes kids develop late; they slip through the cracks. We're talking about a kid like Cam Ward, who was unranked out of high school and is now a Heisman finalist. Um, it happens. So if you get a guy like this who comes on and he does a really good job in college, what he did in high school doesn't matter anymore. That's the way everybody looks at this. All these that to me, that's the way I look at it. I don't care what you did in high school. I care if you've been in college for 2 years. What have you done in college? If you look at the guy, look at his film, look at his stats, he's played well. You're going to tell me that wouldn't be better than starting a true safety, or a true freshman safety? That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. This guy's played ball. Jacksonville State lines up consistently with better talent than them. People pay them to come play them. Um, he's seen really talented receivers. It's not like it's going to be brand new to him. He's played against them in high school. So I don't get down with the all their group of fives. They're not worth taking because I've seen more guys come out of Power Five that don't do anything when they transition schools than I have the kids that work their butt off, get the group of five job, and then come up and are great players. Montrell Johnson was a group of five player. Osiris Torrance was a group of five player. Kyron Lacey, group of five player. It, give these kids a chance. Let's see what he can do.
And that's assuming that we get him. But I mean, like I said, he's a Florida kid. I believe he's
And
repped by
one more thing. Oh my God, I forgot. George Gums, group of five player, worked out pretty good.
Still working out pretty good. Hopefully it gets even better. And yeah, and Poyer is also repped by Vernell Brown, I believe, as he entered the portal. So I mean, now granted, so was Dallas Wilson, but uh, insert your joke here. Wes, what are your thoughts on that? On taking a chance on a kid like this? I mean, I've seen people go on, and we've done it as well about Billy Napier and his staff's ability to evaluate talent. And more often than not, in a lot of these cases, he's been correct.
Yeah, even if you give him an 80% percentile grade on guys that he, as far as portal recruits, guys that he's hit on, whatever you want to, the grade is, you want to go with him. And then I'll throw another name at you, Harris, our DB coach. If Harris wants him, I'm in. To CJ's point, we recruited two safeties that's coming in, but you don't really want to have them on the field if you don't have to next year. And then to a larger macro point is, what are we competing for next year? We have a 2-year window with probably the number one overall pick that could be a force multiplier. You want to have your defense solidified. So if you can bring a guy in that's talented that you believe in, and that can compete with those two freshmen, showing them, showing some things. I'm a believer in learning from the next guy. I illustrated that, talked about that as far as DJ learning from Mertz, and shout out to Mertz if we don't give him any more credit, talk about him ever again. As far as his relationship with DJ and helping DJ mature and understand what it takes to be a professional quarterback, because they are professionals now, they're getting paid. But you want to have Torrance and I say Torrance, not Torrance. You want to have Castell and what's the other safety's name? The guy that I
Bryce
like.
Thornton.
Thornton. You want to have those guys be your leaders and have those two young guys learn from them, but you want to have somebody to compete with Castell. Now Castell turned it on towards the end of the year. He had a different he had a vice versa year as far as last year. Last year he started off strong and then kind of weeded off at the end. This year he started off like he ended, but then he came on a little bit better last year. So you want to have a guy that come in and compete with him, because I think Torrance is maybe your other safety. If I'm not, if I keep saying Torrance, Thornton. If Thornton is your other safety, then you want to have somebody competing with Castell for the other part, the other position. As far as the two freshmen coming in, one of those guys, depending on who you have strong. I don't know how Florida's defense is, if those positions are interchangeable or whatever. But you want to have somebody to come in and compete with Castell to push him as well. Iron sharpens iron. That's an old phrase that we've all heard. So you want to have somebody come in and compete with Castell. And this guy is that guy, then I'm all for it. And I trust Harris and I trust his staff as far as the evaluation. Of course, they've missed on some guys. People are like, well, they missed on this person. But if you look at who they've missed on plus versus who they've hit on, lean toward trusting the staff now in their evaluations, and you want a defense to be able to stop some people next year. We have the same schedule, and if you think DJ can take another step, and he's never lost a game that he started and completed. So let's take that in consideration. We're looking at a macro situation of trying to be in the SEC championship game next year. It's not a division. I can't say we want to win the East. We want to be in the SEC championship in that game next year. So this is what if I'm Billy, this is what I'm looking at. I'm trying to get pieces in to make sure I can get myself into the SEC championship. Quiet the fans for a little bit. They'll still be young because they're rabid and they're crazy. We all crazy. All of us, Hirsch, CJ, and me, myself included, we all love Florida and we want to win every freaking game. I don't care who it is. We want to win, even if we don't think we should win. But that has to be his mentality, and those are players, type players you have to bring in here to make sure that you get that accomplished within the next 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, look, once again, my whole thing goes back to is just put on the tape, watch some tape. If you ever have a doubt, go look at a kid's tape and then just read about his intangibles and all that kind of stuff. And then look at who starts to offer him when he hits the portal, because that will be a real quick indicator of how serious of a target the young man is. And as soon as he got in, I mean, like we're saying, LSU, Auburn, SEC teams. So obviously there's a lot of people see talent in this young man. Couple other things. Quarterback Justin Martin is on campus right now. Just started an official visit. I believe he was at UCLA, wasn't he? CJ, correct? He was a backup at UCLA, and this is what you're looking for: a guy that can come in and fill that backup role next year. You do not want Trammell Jones to be the backup next year if he doesn't have to be. Obviously, I mean, we heard Trammell here on our show, and if you haven't watched that interview with him, scroll on down through our videos and check it out. It was a couple of weeks ago after he committed. Trammell come on and said he's going to be ready when he gets to campus to compete. And that's what you love to hear. But ideally, you'd rather him, he's coming off a broken ankle. You'd like him to get in, learn the system, mature a little bit more, and then be ready to go after that. So you get an experienced college quarterback that's not going to cost you starting quarterback money, because golly knows right now starting quarterback money in the transfer portal is insanity. Tulane's third quarterback just entered the transfer portal while we're recording this episode. I don't even know if they're fielding a quarterback in the game when we play them. They may be running Wildcat the whole game. So, or maybe we'll lend them Aiden Warner to play. We'll see how it works out. But so you got a quarterback on campus right now, and that would be great. We've said we wanted to get a quarterback through the portal because you've got to have an experienced guy behind DJ next year in case something bad happens. I mean, you've got to be ready. But right now, it's really starting to come together in the receiver room, and that's the last thing we're going to talk about right now is you're starting to get a real picture of the receivers that Florida is looking at bringing in for a visit and what they want to have on the field next year. 4 guys that we've got really solidified here, and I'm about to list them off. Chase Sowell, wide receiver out of ECU, 6'4", 205, sophomore. Reggie Virgil, wide receiver out of Miami of Ohio, 6'4", 190, junior. J. Michael Sturdivant, wide receiver from UCLA, 6'3", 205, junior. And Nick Anderson, wide receiver from Oklahoma, he's a sophomore. He's 6'4", 210 pounds. Now, did you see a theme there or hear the theme there? Big receivers, right around that 200-pound mark where they're not too heavy. And I can tell you, especially when it comes down to the first 2 I mentioned, they're in the top 10 in yards per catch last year. Elijah Badger was number 1. They're in the top 10, both of these guys. They're looking for guys that are big, can go up for the ball and get explosive plays. You can immediately see what they're looking for. They've got a lot of those smaller guys. They've got Vernell Brown and Trey Wilson, the under 6 foot guys, Tank, guys like that. They feel really good at that position. They want some guys they can line up on the outside and DJ put it up and guys go get it. They know what they have in DJ now. You're not dinking and dunking. You're not looking necessarily to beat everybody with slants. You're looking for more guys that can go up and get the football. Once again, I'm going to start with CJ because, CJ, I know you've looked at film on all these guys. What really stands out about this group, and who do you think would benefit most in this system? I know that Sal and Virgil are both going to be here this weekend.
Yeah, I've watched the, like you said, I watched the film on every guy that you listed. You're talking about a bunch of guys that play pretty similar. They're all big receivers that can, go up and get it. They're vertical threats. They're not running a lot of, side to side stuff. These are go down the field, out route kind of guys. These are those receivers, which is what we're looking for. Um, Personally, I've watched the film, and Reggie Virgil stands out to me as my favorite of the bunch. Red Zone Reggie. He is a ridiculous athlete at receiver. He's deceptively fast. He has a really grinded out attitude about him that just comes out in the film of if the ball is underthrown or it's behind him or he has to go back and get it or he needs to go up over a guy and he's not scared to do that, which is what I really look for in this group of guys. I wanted guys that are aggressive after the football, can make contested catches. Because I don't like to count on everybody being wide open. And if two, and maybe they're just that good at running routes if they're that wide open. Like I said, I've said that with Anderson, who's in Oklahoma, a guy that if you turn on his film, he just seems to be wide open a lot, and that could be just him being that good. But there wasn't enough there for me to feel comfortable with contested catches. But again, like I've said, if he's that good, he's just getting wide open. Then absolutely, I haven't seen enough for him in like off the line. There's not enough all 22 out there that I've found where I could see how he works off the line and like press coverage and things like that. But he played with a really accurate quarterback when he had his big season with Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel seemed like he just put it in his lap every time, which was really cool. Which I know DJ can do that, but I like to see a guy who can improvise when needed. Um, Sturdivant is another guy who I really like. His film Sturdivant didn't have the best season in the world this year, but he had the last couple seasons really good stuff. Another guy go up and get it, but he seems to run a lot more. He seems to be a little more fleshed out in the route tree than the other guys. He can run some of those side to side, some of those dig routes and things like that. I like to see that. He did better at Cal than I think he did UCLA, but UCLA went through a different coach. Chip Kelly left. Just a weird situation out there. I'm not going to count so much into that. I think he dealt with some injury stuff. And then, of course, Sal is a guy who is a legacy guy. His dad played baseball at Florida. His mom won a national championship in soccer at Florida. Definitely means a lot to be for him to be a Gator. Another guy who is go up and get it receiver. I worry about him in his straight line speed. I'm not really sure how fast he is in a straight line, but as a receiver with as a guy that can go up and get it with his size, big playability is there. I think he's a solid guy. And again, this is, we've talked about how important it is to get legacy guys on the team because it helps out a lot with how they feel about the team and their motivation and things like that. So Sal would be really good for the locker room. Like I said, his dad's been all over the place on Twitter, really excited about this opportunity. So I'm interested to see where we go. But these are all pretty good, solid options in my opinion, especially for what we saw, coming into the season of what we talked about, what we needed to get on campus when the transfer portal opened was we need a bigger, taller receiver because we don't have a lot of those guys. So they've seemed like they fleshed out about four options here. Of course, portal's not done. We could see more names pop up, but those are definitely the ones that are the most prominent at the moment.
Absolutely. Wes, what do you think about this group and the idea of going out and um getting some more bigger wide receivers to go on the outside?
Yeah, so what I've seen from Jeremiah Smith is that I'm just joking. Uh,
My God. He got me. I was like, wait a minute, what the heck? Wes on that sauce.
but nah, to CJ's point, I watched three of the four guys. Though the one that I was least impressed with was Nick Anderson. Is it Nick Anderson?
Yes.
Nick Anderson
Nick
from
Anderson missed
Oklahoma.
last year at Oklahoma due to injury, but had 10 touchdowns as a freshman.
And to CJ's point, I don't know if you or CJ said this. I would like if we had that maybe that offensive coordinator because he seemed like he was always wide the f open.
He's not the head coach at Mississippi State,
So
so I don't think it's going to happen.
yeah, so seemed like he was always open, but he didn't do much for me after the catch. I was looking at guys, big guys that had some had some wiggle, could do things
Yeah.
after the catch. And I think I don't know if I misconstrued two of the guys. I'm thinking Sal, the guy from East Carolina. I don't know if it was him or the other guy. So I'm gonna give it to Sal now because I think it's him. He did more with me as far as after the catch. He had more wiggle, more yards after the catch, doing some things. He had some contested catches. He's a big guy. I hope I'm not confusing him with the other guy. I'll have to go back and rewatch.
I know he had that highlight versus Army. Sal
That
did
might
where
have been,
he,
yeah, and I think that's why I think it's him. But I think he did more after the catch. I was looking at who not only what are you doing after, not after, but as far as the deep balls and are you always open. Nick didn't give me that after the catch. Like he was getting rocked on some of his catches after he made some catches. I was like, and then he didn't have the wiggle to do anything after. But he did catch the ball, so that I would like that, and we know DJ puts the ball there. It's up to the receiver to make the catch, and all these guys caught the ball, but Anderson was just always wide open on his catches and then didn't do too much after the catch. So he would be my least favorite. But I think Sal was the one that I liked as far as after the catch and doing some things maybe like on like a 7-yard route that he got 10 yards after the catch on some of his things and ran, got some touchdowns, took some hits and kept going. Even though it was kind of against lesser competition, he didn't play in SEC or Power 5 football, but he did some things, and I liked what I saw from him. So he would be my favorite right now. If I think the kid from Miami, Ohio.
yeah, I really like this direction that they're going in. And listen, guys, this is just guys that they've made contact with that's verified right now. I know there's still some guys still at their schools that have not declared for the portal yet that they're in contact with as well. So don't be surprised if more names come out. No, I don't think you're going to see us contact Jeremiah Smith. No, I think Cam Coleman at Auburn was a possibility early, but I think Auburn did the necessary things to keep that young man there, which is probably pay him over $1 million to stay, and made some promises about going and getting him a quarterback. But he could still, he could call us tomorrow and say, "Look, I'm going to enter the portal. Give me this, and I'm there." I mean, that's just how it works. So you got to keep an eye on it. But I really like the direction that they're going. That knowing that they have DJ who can put the ball, down the field. He can throw everybody. You go get him some guys that can go up, get the ball, make a play, and then you've got the slot guys that can make stuff happen in space. I like that direction. Now, obviously, it'd be nice still to know, hey, maybe we're getting an offensive coordinator that's gonna have a scheme with this. That's still on the table. We're gonna have to get through the bowl game before you can really go into any kind of coaching changes. They're not gonna change anything until after the bowl game. I've heard a bunch of stuff, but we heard it last year. It is what it is. We're not gonna sit here and keep going over it just to be disappointed when it doesn't happen. We'll just talk about things from here on out. If they happen, we're going to talk about them, give our thoughts. Until then, we're running it back. That's all I can tell you.
CJ, what was your point to the offensive coordinator last year? What did you always say?
It is Russ Callaway until it isn't.
And it's always
real right now. That's how I see it.
That's
the way
I'll be shot if it's not the same next year.
At this time, and I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted. Our schedule just dropped for next year.
LSU week 3.
Week 3, LSU week 3 at Miami week 4.
Wow.
And playing Tennessee in November. This is weird, guys. This SEC stuff is weird.
Yeah.
But at least we should be 2-0 when we go to LSU, and at least LSU usually plays like crap right off the rip.
They got a quarterback?
He's back. Nussmeier's
Nuss,
back.
Nuss is still there as of now.
No
I mean,
draft for Nuss.
they ain't got a whole lot of anything else right now. They've had a whole lot hit the portal, and obviously they got a little beat down by losing their quarterback in recruiting. So, we'll see how that plays out. That's going to be interesting, man. A lot of new things happening with the new SEC, but hopefully we're ready to go and we're ready to put it on them. I know that a couple of these guys that are coming back, their statement was, we want to come back and beat Miami next year. So I like that attitude. I like where the thought process is. I think they know they suck. I mean, obviously they know they suck, but I mean, I think they know that they're better than what they showed that first game of the season, as you obviously saw by the end. And you saw the way that Miami played in a lot of their games as the season went on. They weren't as good as we made them look, and we weren't as bad as we looked. I mean, it's just one of those things. And like CJ alluded to, we said at the beginning of the year, 8-5 was what we were hoping to be at the end of the season. That was our, okay, we'll take that. In a few years, you're not going to look back and go, how did we get to 8-5 that year? Except for, what's the one thing you probably will remember that year? We got our ass beat by Miami to start the season. And then it went, then it was a roller coaster.
And Miami won't let us forget it. We could beat them 10 more times in a row, but yeah, you guys remember 2024.
Yeah. We dropped a 40 burger.
Everybody in Miami's got long memories. I guess you have to.
You have to. You have to be able to watch VHS. But congratulations on the Pop-Tart Bowl. I mean, you fielded your best offense since 2021 or whatever, and your best team since 2021, and basically got the same result we got. So congratulations. You beat us.
In the comments below, list your favorite Pop-Tart flavor for Miami.
Yeah. I'm a frosted strawberry guy. I'm a basic bitch. All right, guys. Well, we're not going to just ramble on here. That's going to do it for this week. Hopefully, by the time we take the air next week, man, we'll have some exciting transfer news. Keep an eye on our social media platforms. We'll post it up if anybody commits. Obviously, like we said, we got a really good Facebook chat. If you're a long-time listening member and you have a Facebook page, you don't even have to be active on your Facebook page. Just make sure you're joining the Respect Our Decision group and apply to enter the chat. We'll accept you and you can be part of it, man. We have great conversations there 7 days a week. We keep each other updated on things we've heard, posting screenshots of whatever's going on out there in the college football world, and just have some basic discussion. Generally just adults having good old-fashioned discussion about what we feel like the state of college football is and the state of the Florida Gators. So pretty awesome. CJ, you got anything to add before we get out?
No, just the normal stuff. Thank you guys for supporting us as creators. Thank you guys for checking out the podcast, YouTube channel. Leave your likes, leave your comments. It helps us out a ton. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that. It helps us out a whole bunch. Turn on the notification bell. That way you know when we drop updates. Something big might happen from between here and now, and we want to make a video on it out of nowhere. It happens. Hirsch has done it. Elijah Badger last year. So, hey, things happen. You don't want to be notified. Want to know when it happens. Turn on that notification bell. But like Hirsch said, join the Facebook chat. We're in there all the time. I'm breaking down film on guys. If you want to come to if you want to come to my film study, what I'm seeing for these wide receivers, because I have to have somewhere for my thoughts to go, or else I'll talk to myself. So thank you guys so much for being there for us. We really, really appreciate it. I mean, they keep on plugging away. We got a football game. We got a football game next week. So
one
more to go.
One more. Finish strong. One more.
Oh, and the Gators play Arizona this weekend. Arizona State this weekend in basketball. Gators basketball team doing big things. So keep an eye on those guys. Those guys are balling. We're in the top 10 for the first time in like 10 years or something like that.
Just waiting on that and that North Carolina game. That'll show us what we really got going on.
Find out what we got here.
Yep. Wes, take us home.
Yeah. Leave us a comment. Hirsch mentioned it earlier at the beginning of the podcast. If what position you think we need to hit on in the portal? What position you think is the weakest for us in the portal? And this is a very big topic that went around Sunday as far as when the 12 teams were announced for the playoffs. Do you think it's flawed? How do you feel about Oregon being number one and having possibly the hardest path with Boise and SMU and all those teams looking like they have the easier path, even in Georgia as well, with the teams that they might have to play in the second round? Do you think those teams deserve, like Notre Dame doesn't play in a conference so they don't get a bye? But what about SMU and Boise with those second round matchups from the winners? And I think Oregon has to play the winner out of Tennessee and
Ohio State.
Ohio State. Like, is that fair? Do you think? In my opinion, I think it should be reseeding, like how the NFL does. Like, if it should be reseeding, they shouldn't just have brackets like the NCAA bracket where you just stuck where you're at. I think it should be reseeding. How do you guys feel about that? Would love to hear your opinions. I think I'm right. If I'm wrong, then disprove me in the comments
Just
below.
don't get CJ started on how easy a road Georgia got.
Yeah, and all of them other than
it's
Oregon,
pitiful.
which is crazy. But yeah, we love to hear your thoughts on that as well. And as always, go Gators.
Go Gators.
Go Gators, baby.